Today's video, we're going to talk about Google Ads demand gen campaigns and the hidden strategy that I've developed for these demand gen campaigns that you could run through Google Ads, which is a special campaign type. Nobody talks about what I'm talking about on this particular video. So what you're going to do with demand gen campaigns, which gets your ads running on Gmail as well as YouTube, by itself, just those two sites, if you're not familiar with it, there's some special offers that you can run through your demand gen campaigns and targeting options to go along with it that will typically get your campaign to work every single time and work with great ROAS, great ROI of 500 to 1,000 or even greater for your brand. So typically, most business owners that are getting started with PPC, they don't know how to run display advertising. They just know how to run search ads because that's easy to do. It's more so like sales or traditional sales than marketing, where you have to introduce something, then have it work. Or people will do Facebook ads outside of traditional search engine ads, and they're able to get that to work, but nothing else besides that. Demand gen campaigns are very much like the Facebook ads of 10 years ago. 2015, where it was really great. Why? Because nobody's really using demand gen campaigns yet. Yes, they're starting to get more and more popular because they're so effective. Basically, of the people that advertise just on Google search, 5%, 10% are even using demand gen campaigns. So you should use them because I'm going to tell you just how much it's going to work, and I'm going to tell you how to exactly do it to get you the results that you're looking for, of which I'm going to have a teeth whitening business where we sold teeth whitening kits to businesses that will then do teeth whitening for their clients at a day spa or at a salon, stuff like that. The results that we got for that particular business, and then also for each targeting type that I'm going to recommend that you do for your own business as well. So I'm going to go through all that data at the end. Make sure you stay tuned for that. For that matter, so there's two main components of demand gen campaigns that you got to know about in order to get your campaigns to work. There's the offer and then there's the targeting. Forget about running your demand gen campaigns and just simply saying, hey, here's our product, buy it or don't buy it. If you are in a non-competitive market with super high demand, you may be able to actually get by with that. But if you're in a saturated market, you're one of many doing it, it's not going to work. People don't typically stumble upon an ad for a product that they know they can go to Google and get anytime, just willy-nilly. They know when they want it, they'll go to Google, they'll get it. They don't need to click on your ad right then and there. And because of this, they're not going to click through at a high rate. And the lower your click-through rate on your ad, the higher the cost per click is going to be. The real good results come in when you can get click-through rates of 0.5%, 1% or higher. And that comes down to how you're offering what you're offering, because you could offer a toolbox and you may say, well, Corey, how can I make that exciting? There's other toolboxes on the market and people know they can go to Google for that. Well, you do it through one of the more interesting ways to do it that I've got on this list here. And I'm going to give you some examples. First of all, the number one way that we are going to get the demand gen campaign to work is through running a sale. For typical e-commerce brand, you will make more money raising your prices so that you have the ability to discount, because you can get display ads to work if you can run a discount. And then what you do essentially is you run a monthly discount like we do for our clients and e-commerce brands that I manage, where you'll say, hey, we're going to offer 20% off everything in store or on our toolboxes here for just the month of March, for March Madness or for St. Patrick's Day. And then you're going to, with that ad, get people to stop, take notice, and click through the ad at a high rate, enough to drive your cost per click down enough to make money, assuming your ad's targeted right. That's the top way we do it. Another way you can do it is through offering a guarantee. You can offer a satisfaction guarantee where you can say, hey, you can buy our cologne, and if you don't like it, the cologne is free. You can keep it and get your money back. Or you can take one step further and you can say, we'll give you 200% of your money back if it does not deliver results that you're looking for. Ultimately, if you buy the toolbox and it fails on you, we'll give you 200% of your money back, but you have to show us evidence that it failed under normal circumstances. There's fine print to it. You basically make it so you wouldn't have to necessarily do that, but you could put 200% money back guarantee on your ad, and you're going to get super high click-through rates because you made it exciting here. When you're talking about the guarantee as well, by the way, you could do like we had for a service company, to give you an example there, where we say, we're going to give you the guaranteed lowest rate on your mortgage. Otherwise, we're going to give you a $50 gift card to Outback Steakhouse, which we've done in the past as well. And that right there stops people in the tracks, and it gets the person to say, I need to jump on this right now. That's ultimately what you're looking to do. How you do it, that's up to you. But if you aren't doing that, you're going to struggle to make your demand gen campaigns work, most likely. You can do before and afters. We sell a paint product. What we love to do with that is show before and after the paint's applied and after it's applied and how beautiful the paint looks. And that in itself gets people's attention enough to click through at a high rate, given that we already, by the way, know that they're in market for this specialized paint. They see how well it looks. Because nobody else in the market really has before and after photos, and we've invested to get these, it gets people's attention enough to click through and at least want to see the other before and after photos. Because on the ad, we say before and after XYZ paint photos. I'm not going to give the exact niche because the client would not be happy with me, but essentially that's what you have. Then you drive them to a page on your website with the before and afters. They get there. They're now more qualified. Now they're going to be willing to go look at the product page itself, which brings me to another point, which is you don't necessarily have to just sell outright what you're doing. It can simply be you drive them to a intermediary offer, which has nothing to do with your product or service per se, but gets the person warmed up and familiar with your brand so that you can market to them later. Either after they've saw whatever they were going to see on your website, like with the before and afters, or with another ad that you follow up with that follows up that same user who clicked on the ad, and then another ad can show up for them with the paint product on it. Sometimes we do a two-step like that. Sometimes we just rely on people clicking through, and then while they're on the site, they go over to the product page and buy that way. We actually do both for that paint company. So you got before and afters, you got product comparisons. Almost nobody does this one. For any company that I run, I also have e-commerce brands in addition to our product PPC agency, where we'll invest in a product comparison. We'll buy all our competitors' products, and then we'll test each product individually, side by side with our product, and then we show what the weaknesses are of the competitor's product. We're able to do that, of course, because I don't invest in companies where we don't have the best product fundamentally, but if you got the best product and you're not showing it off in this way, you're just shooting yourself in the foot and you're throwing the opportunity away. Of which, once you do that cross comparison like that, you can now have an ad that says, see all pottery wheels tested against each other. And when the person's already in market for a pottery wheel, it's really exciting to the user, and you can get them to click through. You could drive them directly to a YouTube video, which they watched that, and then because they watched it, you can follow up with another ad on demand gen, and you're going to get the sale at that point in time because they now know you're the best one. So that's another way you could do it. You could do a trial or sample. If you have pre-packaged TV dinner meals that you're trying to sell, for instance, the best, easiest way for that or any other food product for the most part is just to offer a free sample, which, you'd go broke doing that if you offered it to everybody. But if you offer it to a select few people who are already people that are aficionados, people buy chocolate all the time, eat it all the time, you get in front of that person, it's going to work because the likelihood that they're going to buy a bunch of chocolate from you when they like it is high. Therefore, you can afford to give somebody a small sample like that. And it really just comes down to understanding your customer, what traits they have, what's their hobbies, what's their interests, so that when you target your demand gen campaign, you're targeting the people that have the traits that line up with somebody who buys a lot of product in your space. Then you offer them the sample and you're good. You could also do a trial for a service company, like a cleaning service. The number one way that we have to market a cleaning service that works through demand gen right now, get a free cleaning. And then the same thing with that. It's all down to understanding your customer base. Of the people that you can offer a free cleaning to, what's the percentage that typically would have biggest lifetime value to us? They're going to stay with us the longest. They're going to pay the most because of bigger houses, and that close at a higher rate because they have more disposable income and value the service more. You do a bunch of analysis on your customer list that you have, which you can easily go to a third party with your customer list, your email address, your phone number list, and they'll tell you the traits that make these people unique. Or you could just keep it simple and just target people with a higher income or whatever, which you can do with demand gen campaigns. That's how you go about doing it, so that you mathematically figure out, okay, if they have higher income and they're in this part of the city, it's a female over 35 and less than 55, the average lifetime value from a client we have with those parameters is an average of X. It's $1,000. So we can offer a free cleaning, which costs us $40 to get that $1,000 customer. Because once they get the free cleaning, about a third of those people we're going to get to buy, and that's still an 8-to-1 return on our ad spend. You got to think outside the box when you're coming to these demand gen campaigns to really get a really scalable campaign, because you need people to click through the ad at a high rate, like I was mentioning before. But what your goal should be is to have your competitors look at what you're doing and say, how the hell can they actually do that? How the hell can they afford to do that? Because why? Because once you have a working campaign, they're not going to rip it off. And they're not going to copy you. They're not going to know what to do. And then you got it all to yourself. In our space, in the PPC management space, we got a performance guarantee. 25% more profit from your ads before a management fee kicks in. Nobody else is willing to do it because they're scared or don't know how or aren't willing to. And now our ad will work because we did a little bit more than what the competitors had the guts to do. We could also do an ebook, like in the funeral space. So we've had an ebook that we put together. Don't get ripped off when buying funeral services. 25-year veteran, local Houston funeral director explains common scams in the funeral space. That was basically the nuts and bolts of the ebook that we put together, and it had a landing page that offered that information on there. And then we would just drive people from demand gen campaigns to that particular offer. And they download that offer. They have to give their phone number in order to get it, not just their email address. We had somebody at the organization that we were working for call everybody who filled it out within a few minutes. And it worked really well. Because why? Anybody who downloads that ebook is going to be interested in, they're going to be needing funeral services at that time. Otherwise, they wouldn't have downloaded it. What they normally call as a lead magnet. And we had, roughly 5 to 10% of those people that we had a conversation with, that we connected with, that would just end up going with us. And so it's really tough to scale a campaign in the funeral space on Google search because there's only so many people searching and people that click through your ads. This can really suck out a whole ton more demand in your market because it gets people before they actually even searched for anybody. You can run it a few weeks before they even get to hire somebody even. Because usually, like when somebody's in hospice, they know they're going to need a funeral home within the next couple weeks before their spouse or their loved one dies. And that's what we were doing. And we also ran ads on Facebook doing the same thing, by the way. Worked very, very well. We were getting 100 plus leads a month just simply doing this. That's another way to go ahead and do it, which if you want, as a bonus, if you were in that space, another thing that we would do is a free in-home consultation for funeral planning. So in which we would run to 65 plus age demographic people in the local market. We would say we come to your house and tell you about funeral planning itself. And we ran a demand gen campaign and Facebook campaign doing this as well. That's something in that space people weren't willing to do and that we were willing to do. So therefore it stood out. In a lot of spaces that would make a difference. You can't say we offer a free in-house consultation for a roofing company. Everybody does it. You can't be a lawyer and say free 15-minute consultation. Everybody does it. Nobody gives a damn. You have to figure out what the consumer wants and what your competition's not willing to do or can't do. Quiz. We had somebody who just recently that's doing church glass repair. And what do? We know before somebody hires somebody for that, they're going to want to ultimately figure out, A, do they actually need somebody professionally to repair it, and how to repair it, and what's involved when you have stained glass that needs to be repaired in a church. We had a quiz that said, find out if you could repair your church glass yourself. Again, nobody's going to fill out this quiz unless they, A, have broken church glass, and B, they're serious about fixing it. They may not hire somebody for sure, but they're damn close to it. And a bunch of people that do fill it out will actually hire somebody at some point, either right away or in the near future. So we had this quiz, and then the output would tell the user, hey, it looks like you can't really do this. This is not possible. You need to do X, Y, and Z. Then we had somebody call them right away, just like with the funeral company. If you're wondering how to do a quiz like this, Lead Quizzes is one company that you can Google that allows you to have a quiz like this. We've done quizzes for supplement companies, like find out the perfect protein powder that will work for your body type. And then people would click on that, they go to a quiz and say, okay, great, what you need for your body type and the way you answer the questions is this particular protein. It would link to a product page on the website. We get sales that way, which is great. Ultimately, demand gens, you can make money that way as well. That one's a little bit harder to get to monetize because the customers aren't worth as much. For the most part, if you can get a lifetime value of a customer of $100 or more from demand gen, you can make it make sense. If it's less than that, it's going to be difficult. Protein powder, it's actually $100 or more, so we were able to make the math work. Wouldn't work for technically everything, but that's kind of like your threshold. Because no matter how good a job you're going to do, you're never going to get the cost per click probably down to 10 cents with it. If you get your offer right, you can get it down to 30 cents, 40 cents, and you can get 1% of people to buy. For that matter, that's your offer. Now you got to also be able to get the targeting right. That means understanding how to get the 1% rule. I made this rule myself. If you could target an audience of people that at least 1% of those people that are in that audience are buyers, you can make that audience work. Question is, how do you find that audience? The easiest way to do it is to create something called a custom intent audience, which you create. You can Google how to do this. Essentially, all the keywords that you would target with a traditional search campaign. In other words, if you sold a pottery wheel, people that type in buy pottery wheels for sale. You take all those keywords, you put them into a custom intent audience, which tells Google, hey, if anybody searched for these in the recent past, I want to target them with my demand gen campaign. You target all those people with your offer, you can make money. And then if you have the offer right, you're going to make money. That's one way to target with demand gen campaigns. That is proven and should be your go-to. You also have info-term campaigns where you take all the terms such as, what are the best pottery wheels? How do you buy a pottery wheel? And you target those people. And you would typically want to target them individually, separately, because it's going to convert different than the buyer searches, because that indicates a different crowd of people that have less people that are going to go on to buy than the people who typed in buy pottery wheels. Make a list of all your competitors, not only just the brand names, if those brands traditionally sell products that you sell for them on a majority basis, or the product names themselves, that is the name of the competitor product directly. You put that into a custom intent audience, and then you target your demand gen campaigns as such. Indirect competitors. Ultimately, if you sell mole removal cream, what's another way that you can remove a mole? Well, you can remove a mole by contacting a dermatologist. So why not target the dermatologist as well? And you can do that. If you are a tax specialist going into tax relief services, what we did in that particular space is somebody who has outstanding debt. We can target people who not just are looking for tax relief firms that specialize in helping you negotiate with the IRS and the tax authority, but people that are contacting tax attorneys itself, which if you're going to contact the tax attorney, that's mainly what you would go there for. Also, people that are contacting the IRS directly itself. If they're contacting the IRS, going back to the 1% rule, there's at least 1% of those people that are going to be needing a tax relief service. That's what I mean by indirect competitors. What are people buying that if they didn't buy what you sell, they'd buy that instead? And you go after those people, and you also do it with the custom intent audience. You also got lookalikes. Google, a few years back, got rid of lookalikes targeting on display campaigns, which was a bummer. They brought it back for demand gen campaigns, and it works very, very well. You can do narrow targeting, which is similar to like with Facebook and their lookalike targeting, like a 1x lookalike, all these people that look the most like the people on your targeted list, which you could mimic people that have been to your website, or a customer list, which a customer list would be more ideal. A balanced, which is a little bit more broad, and people that maybe not look exactly like your customers, but somewhat. And then you got broad, which looks the least like your customers, but will also get you in front of the most people. That in itself will typically not be effective for everybody. What you typically do is you start out with the top 4 that I just mentioned. You make all your money there. When it won't scale anymore, you do your lookalikes. And if that's already working for you and it's starting to slow down in terms of your scalability, your growth, then you're going to do optimized targeting, which is a feature that demand gen campaigns have with it by default, which typically you stay away from that until you can't scale with any of these other things, other ways to target your customer base or client base anymore, which works similar to how lookalikes works, but it's even more broad. Ultimately, instead of even looking like somebody that's your customer, it goes beyond that and it starts experimenting with other things. Somebody who wants to buy tax relief services is somebody who's typically interested in bookkeeping, interested in what you're doing, or CEOs interested in it. And they'll just start doing some experimentation on your behalf. So really, it's just like a lazy way to expand what you're doing without having to figure out on your own what else you should target. But it's actually decent what we found is if you're in a market that it's a broad market, like a mole removal product that almost everybody could technically buy, even though not everybody has a mole, it's 1% or greater of the public could buy that product technically. It does a pretty good job of finding new customers there because it doesn't have as much to figure out. Whereas if it's a product that only 10,000 people in the whole US would buy, it does a crappier job at getting you a good ROI on a decent short-term basis because it's got too much testing to do on its own, and you'd be better off manually finding audiences to test instead of just leaving it up to the algorithm that Google has. Anyway, that's your targeting options, and you go, this one's going to work the best. You start there. That one works, you do this. If that one works, you do this, and so forth. And so what you really should do is just target, in my opinion, the top 3 or 4 here, and then you rotate through your different offers here. Test several offers, and some of them will make sense for your business. But you test quite a few of them and find out which one's going to get you the highest click-through rate and the highest ROI. Because some of these will give you a higher click-through rate, but it won't drive the right qualified users to your website. And so you got to test that as well. But bottom line, you test basically all of these models and you find the one that works the best. Once you've done that, now you can start to go down this list and start targeting the more broader options here, and you'll start scaling more and more. Of which you should get numbers that look similar to what I've posted on my board here for this teeth whitening business, where essentially the guy that I was working with, he sells teeth whitening to consumers, but also businesses that want to sell their products to individual consumers on their end. What we did was we packaged up teeth whitening products into a done-for-you business in a box. So as opposed to just selling a light and trays and stuff that you normally would, how you would sell teeth whitening services to people in a salon or whatever, we have a kit. Essentially, you buy this box that has everything you want in there with a free certification course on top of it. So literally, you just get this kit. It tells you not only what to do with everything in there, but everything is in there that you need. You literally can get started doing this thing in a weekend. Other people weren't necessarily packaging it up like that, so it was unique enough for the demand gen campaign to work. I'm going to go into the numbers, how much this actually got in terms of results here. Before I do, though, on a 2-year campaign that we were running on an 8-year account, which had some time for the campaigns to kind of stew and work, and a big part of running Google Ads and demand gen campaigns in particular is you need time for the algorithm to figure out where the customers are. Because even though you target your ads really well and you have a good offer, it still takes time to getting feedback to the algorithm. That is, the conversions that you're getting, feeding it back to the system, them self-correcting and scaling the parts of what you're doing that are working and scaling back the part that doesn't work. It takes time to get a decent ROI or ROAS from your campaign, which simply means that at the beginning, you keep your budget low. You let other parts of your business pay to invest in this campaign with the understanding that eventually it'll build up a higher and higher ROAS, and eventually it'll be profitable, and then it'll scale your business. All campaigns technically are like this. Some that, of course, get profitable sooner in the process. Demand gen campaigns typically are going to take a few months to be profitable, and then to get super profitable, it's going to take more time than that, basically. And it really depends on your starting budget, because if you start out with $10 a day, it's not going to get to profitability as fast as if you had $1,000 a day. Where I typically start out with demand gen campaigns is like $100 a day, just let it ride. Now, if you could do as little as 10 a day if you had to, really what we're doing is we're getting search campaigns to work first, and then we're going to spend 10-20% of what we're spending on our search campaigns on the demand gen campaigns, knowing that it won't work for a while, but we're going to feed the data back and train the algorithm to run the campaign right, and then it's going to work and work and work after that. But anyway, before I get into the numbers there, If you haven't subscribed to this channel, you absolutely should, because I have the best information you're going to find online about how to make money with ads, given to you by somebody with 20 years experience doing this and manages dozens of ad accounts in my agency on an ongoing basis. You're not going to find better information elsewhere because of that, so you should subscribe. I've got a great blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog, where you can also find my strategies that I find able to guarantee our clients results and that you can use for yourself there. If you have any questions about anything I'm covering here or any marketing related question, you can always leave me a comment below. I get back to everybody who leaves me a comment in the comment section. You can also reach out to me through my Discord group. A link to the Discord is in the video description. You also can reach out to me through my site at guaranteedppc.com. On my site, by the way, I have several ways that you can work with me. I do coaching and consulting as one of those options. I also offer done-for-you services where I literally will guarantee that you get a higher return on your ads before charging a management fee. Or you could buy our templates from us. If we're in a market that we've been in before, we could sell you the winning ads, landing pages, all of it that work for your market, and you just simply copy and paste that into your ad account. I can tell you the results you're going to get with it up front. As long as you're in a different city or country that our client's in, you can use it for yourself there. Just cut out all the time that it took us to figure out the best way to run ads in your niche market. Getting into the numbers here, for this 2-year campaign that we were running, here is the number of conversions monthly that we got, and then the ROAS that we got at that particular point in time with the demand gen campaigns. Given, like I said before, this is good results with Google ads. You're going to start with search ads, shopping ads, all that stuff. It's much quicker to work. You start reinvesting what you're making into demand gen, display, YouTube campaigns. Demand gen is what I would always start with because it works the best. The quality of the traffic is good. It's like Facebook quality traffic, but even better nowadays. So with the buyers keywords that we targeted, people looking for teeth whitening business, teeth whitening services, teeth whitening courses, stuff like that. We had 48 conversions a month on that particular ad group and audience that we targeted there, and a 791% ROAS, which is pretty good. And baked into that is the lifetime value of the client we got. 50% of the revenue that we get from a client comes from the initial purchase, and then the other half comes in from the subsequent purchases on average, just so you understand how this business works. For the info term ad group that I mentioned up here, we had 844% ROAS. For the competitor term ad group, other people selling to not necessarily full kits, but product to other salons and stuff that wanted to do teeth whitening in their clinics, 14 conversions a month at a 1,285% ROAS. So that one actually, like I was mentioning before, sometimes this one actually does better than these. It depends on how small your market is. If you only have 3 or 4 or 5 competitors, that will probably be your best ROI campaign. But we did also indirect competitors. These are people who wanted to buy stuff like body contouring that people often do, a fancy spa, or even in some salon clinics, they're doing this stuff. If somebody that owns a salon wants to offer that add-on service, they're looking to add on other ways. They're looking for other revenue opportunities. Teeth whitening just being one of them that they may not have considered. So why not going after the people that are looking for this add-on with our add-on? That in itself got 10 conversions a month, so it's not a big producer for us, at a 698% ROAS. Now, getting into the other two here that I mentioned that you typically for sure only want to do till later on, and you can't really scale these other ones. We started to get into this about 6 months ago, hitting a plateau in our results. The lookalikes campaign, which we did narrow targeting, got us 93 conversions a month, so it's producing the most conversions out of all the rest of these. So the upside is there's massive volume potential. The downside is it doesn't work very quickly. And 413% ROAS, which the actual cutoff on the profitability of our company is right around that 400% range. So it's profitable. It's bringing in a lot of extra profit for us, technically, with smaller margins, still making more profit up here, even though the numbers are smaller, the ROAS is much higher. Ultimately, what you're going to have with demand gen campaigns, as is a lot of other campaign types, it's going to take a while for your ROAS to come up. And if you try to say, hey, I must have an 800% ROAS now, your campaign's just going to die and it's not going to get anywhere. You've got to give the algorithm room to breathe and settle for less ROI. And basically what you do is you say, Google, I would like a 200% ROAS, even though you may need 400% to be profitable. You wait for the algorithm to deliver that to you. Then you raise it up to 220. You wait for that to be delivered to you. then you bump it up to 250, and you bump it like 15% at a time, 30% if you want to be a bit more rambunctious, no more than that, and then you walk the ROAS up. And in 6 months, we walked it up already up to 413% with the offer that we have that was proven, the full business in a box kit, and this conversions consistently keep coming up. So naturally, if we wanted to probably say, hey, Google, get us an 800% ROAS, our conversions though would go down to almost nothing because it's too much for the campaign too quickly. For the optimized targeting though, we also got this to work with 22 conversions a month, or the last month that I pulled the numbers from the campaign here, it's 22 conversions and 318% ROAS. We weren't profitable there on that one yet, but we're working on it. It's what you really want to do with Google Ads and these demand gen campaigns is see that the ROAS is getting better. You may only have your first month of ROAS of 20%. It doesn't matter. You keep advertising. This is where I say you invest what you can afford to lose. Whatever you put into the demand gen campaign at the beginning, don't assume that the sales are going to be there next month to pay for next month's ad spend or what have you, or the sales are going to be here. Whatever sales you get the first month is going to pay for the second month's ad spend, because it probably is not. You're looking to invest whatever you could invest, and assuming that the campaign ain't going to be profitable for, let's say, 6 months, just see that the ROAS is getting better month over month. And if it is, you know, if you chart that out, it's eventually going to get to break even, and then you're going to be good. It's smooth sailing because you're only going to get more profitable from there. The algorithm's going to get more data, more smarter about how to run your campaign, and then therefore more and more profitable. And you're going to get more and more sales on top of it. So, but anyway, that gives you on a 2-year time scale, example product, how we're able to scale this up and how it works for each one of these individual targeting types individually. And so you can kind of see where you would want to do it for your business, which ones work better, which ones don't work as well, and where the volume potential is there. So you can start out with lookalikes targeting, for instance, maybe get lucky, strike it rich real quickly with that. But more than likely, at least with my experience, you're not going to make any money from it. And where it really shines is when you get a whole bunch of data going through your account, and then you start up lookalikes targeting, and then it'll start working decently then, but not without a bunch of conversions going through the account already, or without having a customer list uploaded to train Google Ads' system with a customer list of 100K customers, something like that, which you could also do that would bypass a lot of, just having to rack up a bunch of conversion data in your ad account to get the lookalikes to work. But anyway, that's the hidden strategy, quote unquote, that nobody's talking about. People, when it comes to demand gen, are just going to say, whatever you're selling, like if you're selling a pottery wheel, sell it just like you're selling it on Google search. That crap doesn't work except for in rare, extraneous circumstances. When they're doing the targeting, they just talk about lookalikes targeting like that. And again, that's the stuff that works the least and takes the longest to work. Even though it can be a huge opportunity, it's usually not so easy to just turn that on and instantly get results. You want to do, and at the very least, you should just do this other stuff first, because why the hell not do the other stuff that's more profitable first, pick all the low-hanging fruit, and then move on from there. Anyway, with that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thank you very much for watching. As usual, I'll see you on the next one. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.